From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate. Israel's National Trade Union is holding a one-day strike calling for a ceasefire and an end to the war in Gaza following the deaths of 6 Israeli hostages held by Hamas militants. Reporter Andrew Dimbert has more.
The union's 800,000 members include workers at Israel's main airport. Tech companies and manufacturers have also vowed to join the strike. Israeli officials say all 6 hostages were shot at close range between Thursday and Friday morning. Their bodies found hours later in Rafah Saturday.
Banks, some large malls, and government offices were all closed due to the strike, and public transit was limited. Back home now, where a political analyst says Manitoba's NDP government will have difficulty getting to a balanced budget. The University of Manitoba's Paul Thomas says the government has, to date, been very responsive to requests for more funding or tax relief. However, Premier Wab Kinew's path to balance will require annual spending increases of less than 2.5%, but some public sector workers, including nurses and civil servants, will receive more than that under recent agreements. Passengers deserve better. That's the word from Canada's Transport Minister after Via Rail passengers spent around 10 hours stuck on a broken-down train in the middle of nowhere. Pablo Rodriguez is set to meet with officials from the National Passenger Train Service this week in search of answers. Via says no buses were available near the breakdown, which was between Montreal and Quebec City, to shuttle the occupants to their destination. The local fire department was eventually called in to help transfer passengers from one train to another. Across the pond now, Britain's new Prime Minister hasn't had much of a summer honeymoon. Keir Starmer was elected in a landslide less than 2 months ago, but anti-immigration unrest erupted across the country, prompting the Labour Party leader to cancel a planned vacation. Now, weeks later, Starmer's been issuing stark warnings about the state of the nation and the economy. Parliament is expected to get back to business Monday after a shortened summer break, with the left-of-centre government preparing for a budget statement next month, likely to include tax increases or public spending cuts, or both. And finally, a recent study on a popular weight loss drug found it may have surprising benefits beyond its prescribed use. Reporter Faith Abube says the study was published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology.
Researchers followed more than 17,000 participants over 3 years and found that those taking semaglutide were 34% less likely to die from a COVID-19 infection and 19% less likely to die overall from other causes compared to those not taking it. The study only followed adults who were overweight or obese and had known cardiovascular disease without diabetes.
Still, experts are pumping the brakes and saying more research is needed. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, starting off in the CFL, the Saskatchewan Roughriders and their fans had their hopes dashed after a 60-yard field goal attempt on the final play came up just a couple of yards short. That allowed the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to escape Regina's sold-out stadium with a 35-33 victory. Earlier in the day, Royce Lewis hit a go-ahead 3-run home run in the 8th inning as the Minnesota Twins rallied to beat the Toronto Blue Jays 4-3. Elsewhere in the MLB, Josh Young hit a 3-run homer off Mason Miller in the 10th inning as the Texas Rangers beat the Oakland Athletics 6-4. Scottie Scheffler polished off the best year in golf in nearly 2 decades with the biggest prize. Scheffler won the Tour Championship to become the FedEx Cup champion with its $25 million U.S. bonus. Scheffler won 7 times on the PGA Tour and an Olympic gold medal. And in the WNBA, the Minnesota Lynx beat the Chicago Sky 79-74. From the Canadian Press, I'm Rob Westgate.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.